Sam, come to the wrong spot. Hello people, welcome to Donostia San Sebastian. Don't worry, we're not at the wrong race. We are at Itzulia Women's, the final stage actually, and we're here to check out some tech. Not any old tech though, I want to do a little bit of investigating because I've been to this race plenty of times and I've seen some interesting kit over the years. 105 group sets, mechanical group sets, caliper brakes, and well, I want to know if the women are getting across the peloton what they deserve, the best of the best. I know all that other stuff is serviceable, but let's just say when you're going up against the major teams of the sport, the World Tour teams of the sport, and you're riding, well, a heavier, not as aero, not as rolling resistant piece of kit, there's definitely marginal losses, isn't there? So let's compare a few years back to this year, and let's hope there's more quality kit in the peloton than ever. Oh, and stay tuned because I've spotted a set of fancy wheels that are unreleased from a major player. And I've got to say, they look primo. Let's crack on. Loads to talk about. Let's talk about a team that have upgraded their equipment for 2025, or at least I think they have, and that is Envyat CM. Spanish team, continental level, so lowest level of the pro ranking, but they've definitely got better kit than last year and the year before. Last year they were on Mendes frames, a bike manufacturer that we'll come to in a minute, and some wheel set that I've never heard of, GTM. Yeah, I'm sure you've never heard of them either. They were also on two-fold tubulars, a brand that I didn't even know still existed. This year though, they have moved to Live as a sponsor. We've got the Langma advanced bikes there with your Ultegra Di2 on there. An upgrade from the 105 I think they were riding last year. Wheel sets, well, the full build's pretty much stock standard for the Ultegra version, what you get on the shelf. Now, spare bikes though, same frame set, Ultegra gone, in comes 105, which is understandable for a continental team's budget. Then bikes retail at about €4,700 if I remember rightly. Now, doesn't look like they've got a tyre sponsor though, because there's a real mismatch of stuff there. Same with the pedals, looks like everybody can use whatever pedals they want, and saddles, but that looks like it's a thing across the whole women's peloton. It doesn't look like the women are tied down to a saddle manufacturer like the men's peloton are. What else was interesting with this bike though is it does look like they kind of think about retail value at the end of the year. In fact, I was told that the reason those steerer tubes aren't cut on these bikes is because they want to be able to offer that bike at the end of the year to consumers at a decent price. But come on, these are professional cyclists. Let them get their position right. Let them shave those few extra grams off and hopefully save their knees from knocking on the amount of spacers that are on top of that stem. Right, I said Mendes. Let's talk about the team that they've gone to, and that is not just one team, but the whole setup of the Escadi Foundation. Now that is the Escutel Escadi men's teams, the under-23 team, and the women's Laboral Cucha squad as well. Last year, and for, well, as long as I can remember, well, from the beginning, the teams were all on Orbeia. In fact, they had a full setup from the Basque companies. They had Extra Hondo clothing, Orbeia bikes, Ocua wheels. Now that's all gone. They're riding Agu clothing, Mendes frames, Deda wheels. They've got Ultegra Di2 group sets on there as well, but slight change with your rotor chain sets there, which I suppose are now a 49% Spanish company, because the other 51% of rotor is now owned by Wheeltop, a Chinese group set manufacturer. I know, bit of a turn up there, eh? We got Windspace in the peloton for the second year, and they're on the latest aero bike, the T1550. Oh, looks very fancy. Chinese wheels as well from Windspace in-house wheel manufacturer Lun. They're running slightly deeper wheels to what they were last year. They're running the 45s instead of the 35s. And if you want to know more about Windspace, stay tuned to the channel. I've actually got one on the balcony out there getting built up at the moment for a test. And I gotta say, blooming light. Now, if you're hanging here waiting for the World Tour teams, let's be honest, they're all pretty boring. They're all pretty standard. They're all very fancy paint jobs as well. That's probably the most interesting things with all of them. Your specialised teams who run the Tarmac SLA and all the Roval stuff on there. Your Lidl Trek who run the Amonda, or is it the Madone now? I forget. All the stuff is exactly the same as what teams they would sponsor in the men's peloton. And that goes even more so, I suppose, for Team UAE, because they were on the latest Colnago V5 RS, which was only released 2 weeks ago. They had the whole team, bar one rider, who I think has come from the under-23 Continental squad to race this race, on the V5 RS. Spare bikes with a V4 RS. World Tour stuff, it's not always that interesting, but always good looking. Talk about fancy stuff. Let's talk about them wheels that I spotted. Canyon SRAM's on the Crypto. We're on a new set of zips that I have not seen anywhere. Not sure when these are going to be released, but if we go by what they did last year, where they showcased the new SRAM Red Axis group set at this race, and then released it, I think it was the week or the week after. Maybe these are due to come out sometime soon. Anyway, I have no clue what they're replacing, but they've got the same sort of depth as a 303, I reckon. Something like that. They've got that wavy profile that we've seen from SRAM before. I'm saying it looks a little bit different, no, slightly changed. Width-wise, they didn't look all that wide, to be honest. In fact, they had the Schwalbe tyres on there in 30, and they ballooned up really wide. They didn't look sort of very flat, you know what I mean, like that rather than like that. So yeah, I'm guessing internal rim width isn't all that massive at all. Hubs look no different to normal. Think it's using Sapim spokes, or I'm guessing. Quite excited by them. Let's talk Factor, because they had two teams. They of course had Human Powered Health and Co-op Repsol. Human Powered Health look like they get the better deal, but they are a World Tour team. Custom paint job, top tier components throughout, including Factor's in-house black ink, bars, stem, wheels, seat post. But over at Co-op Repsol, no custom paint job, no top tier components. They're in fact running the latest, or currently latest, SRAM Force Axis group set. We have heard rumours about a new one coming out. There's been a few news articles about that. That bike, that team, has got no change of sponsorship, no change of equipment sponsors or anything like that from last year. Exactly the same. World Tour team bikes, yes. So we're not all that interesting. But one interesting fact I did find out is that the Sevel bikes that Visma Lisa bike used because they're all small, generally speaking, the S5, they can nearly hit the UCI limit, yet still have that aero advantage, where if they use the R5, sometimes it can be a bit touch and go with it in that 6.8 kilo UCI limit. The only slight difference I would say is that you see shallower section wheels being used by the women's peloton than the men's. There's a lot of 35s on show here, including the Visma team, where generally speaking the sort of shallowest you see the men's using, even in the mountains, is a 45. One team I want to talk about and have questions about is B Pink, another Continental squad. So they're definitely not going to have the best equipment out there, but they've got an interesting setup that hasn't changed from last year, or probably even the year before that. No, that's a lie. They used the Rosas 2 years ago, but the past 2 years, this year and last year, they're on Matteo Official Matteo. It's Italian. Custom made, handmade frames. So I'm guessing not the lightest ones out there. And that mixed with deader alloy bars and stem and them deader wheels that we see a little bit of in the women's peloton isn't going to make for the lightest bike out there. Add to that the old SRAM Force Axis group set, the original version, that's probably kicking on for 6 years now. Yeah, it's not going to be a lightweight aero climbing machine at all. We've talked about Mendes bikes taking over where Orbeia were, but Orbeia still have a sponsored team in the race. I don't know how to say it. Yeah, Orbeia are sponsoring them with their Orca Aero. If we go back to sort of the incarnation of that team, I think like maybe 7 years ago, they were running the Rota Uno hydraulic group set. Does anybody remember that? So yeah, they've improved their equipment over the past few years for sure. All right then people, what do we reckon? Definitely an improvement across the board. Those zip wheels look pretty damn smart. I was surprised I wasn't shooed away by the mechanics. They knew I was taking photos of them. When they will be released, I do not know, but it's got to be before the Tour de France, and it, because, well, we'll definitely see what men's teams are on them. Oh, like movie star on them for sure at the Tour, won't we? Yes, there's no mechanical group sets this time round. And I know there's going to be people out there who are saying, Dave, it doesn't matter. I disagree. When you're getting the World Tour teams on equipment that's going to just be above the UCI limit, especially with the women's smaller frames, the teams that are on not as aero equipment, heavier equipment, maybe even mismatched tyres, stuff that's not been looked after quite as well. There's definitely going to be big losses there. Yes, we've seen it in the men's peloton between continental teams, pro-continental teams and world tour teams, but not as severe, I would say. Now, I recommend going to check out a few of my team versus team videos, the videos where I compare two different teams, world tour and a Pro Conti or a Conti team who are sponsored by the same bike manufacturer but get different kit. So to see teams on here on not just what could be, from rumours, getting old SRAM Force group set to the very first version of the SRAM Force Axis group set is quite surprising. And yes, I know it's a small manufacturer supplying not just the frame but the group set. It just makes me wonder, where the hell have they got that group set from? And I'm guessing they've picked it up pretty cheap, or it's been sat around the warehouse sometime. Across the board though, things have definitely picked up, haven't they? Definitely some cool kit, and I've got to say, the women's stuff always looks better than the men. The paint jobs are killer, aren't they? Same with the kits. Right, enough from me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Join the conversation. As always, subscribe, like, you know what to do, don't need telling, do you? And come back here for more in the future. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy your riding.